So once you guys, if we, do any Q&A at the end, I'm just going to stop recording, and that way you guys can feel free to talk. All right. So welcome everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I know I'm already a little bit behind time. I see you guys saying hello. So if you guys don't know who I am yet, I'm just going to do a brief introduction. If you know who I am, hello again. So my name is Paula. I am the organizer of this group. We actually have a new co-organizer here. Her name is Carrie. So towards the end, I'll give her a chance to introduce herself. But what I do is this group has, there's so many different avenues to healing, right? And I know with a lot of meetup groups, what I've been hearing is it's more so led by survivors, which is not a problem. I think that's very good as well. Because it's good to see that people understand what you're going through. This is such an isolating thing to deal with, right? But this particular group, I am actually trained in domestic violence and counseling and behavioral health. So I use my book experience also paired with me being a survivor as well to share any insight on anything that I've learned about this illness, right? About this situation. So today is one of our calls. So typically I do some calls on YouTube because it gives you guys a chance to stream in. And then like yesterday, we had a support group. So there's a mixture of that. So there's a lot of different things we have going on in this group. So make sure that you're staying alert. But today we're going to talk about future faking. Future faking. This is one of the narcissist's favorite, if not, the main thing that gets you to stay in that relationship. Future faking is me selling you a dream that will never be realized. It's me abusing your patience, right? Future faking is me taking advantage of your desires. Someone actually put it the best way, and they said it's a Ponzi scheme. You buy now, but you never get anything out of it later, right? That's future faking. So what does that look like? And I'm going to speak specifically to romantic relationship, and then we're going to go into families because I don't know what everyone's situation is here. In a romantic relationship, future faking looks like me listening to all of your wants, your desires, your goals, your plans, and then turning around to use that to keep you. Okay. So I always say this in the very beginning of the relationship, what we call the love bombing stage. It's not uncommon for this abusive person, and I use abuser because there's so many different diagnoses. I know we're speaking specifically to narcissism, but there are so many times that they're actually learning you. They're paying attention to what you're saying, right? They have this feigned interest. They seem so into you, and you've never met anyone who cared this much about you, right? And so quickly, they're willing to risk it all, right? And later down the road, when the time comes for them to kind of show and prove who they are, they never deliver. And the moment you say, I'm going to leave this relationship, you promised me that you would take care of me. You promised me that if I left everything, which is not uncommon, and followed you, that I would never have to worry about anything. But now you're telling me I have to get a job, right? So what future faking is I'm going to promise you, if you just stay with me, if you just wait it out, give me a chance, let me show it to you, I'm going to get you that house that we've always been talking about. We're going to start that family, just let me go through therapy and I'm going to stop cheating. I'm going to stop lying. I'm going to stop alcohol or whatever whatever that is. I'm going to stop. And the normal person will say, I'm going to give you a chance. So let me give you an example. Let's say one of you guys, we were talking on the phone and I say, you know what, Rudo, Amanda, I'm going to give you a call. I'm going to call you right back. Okay. Bob, I'm going to call you right back tomorrow. And I don't call you back. You're likely not going to say, I can never trust her again. I can't believe her. She's, oh my gosh, this is the biggest manipulator, right? You're going to say something happened, you got busy, things happen. In a narcissistic relationship, the stakes are a lot higher. So future faking looks like, I I know I told you that I would start treating you differently and I would start taking you out and I would start listening to you and paying more attention. But, work has been so stressful, or, my mom is in the hospital again. And as soon as she gets out the hospital, as soon as work starts to calm down, I'm going to be that person who I'm promising you I'm going to be. And what we do in this situation is we stay, because part of our human nature does not want us to miss out on this potential new person that we've been asking them to be all along. And I'm going to say that again. We feel like we're missing out if we leave the party too soon. So what we do is we stay. And some of us, and I've said this myself at one point, I've even said, well, I don't want to leave and let another person swoop in after I've done all this hard work, right? What if I leave and then he actually does start to become more financially stable? What if I leave and he or she actually does begin to do Alcoholics Anonymous, right? They start going to AA meetings and they become a better parent. So we stay, because in our mind, we can't wrap our minds around why someone would promise something they have no intention of actually doing. Who does that? Right? Who says, I promise you I'm going to stop. Just give me another chance. And you give them another chance and they don't stop. And in fact, sometimes they get worse. We cannot wrap our minds around that. And because of that, many times we're going to say in our minds, and I've done this before, well, no, he's going to come through, because he said this time he understood how upset I was when he didn't come through the last time. So I know, he doesn't really want to hurt me, right? We hear that all the time. Do they know what they're doing? Yeah, they do. He doesn't really want to hurt me. So, but if he does it this time, oh, I'm out of here, right? If he does it one more time, I'm out of here. And then what do? They're habitual line crossers. So they cross the line again, but maybe in a different way. Oftentimes, future faking is not the same tactic every time. So maybe you are always complaining about you don't pick up your socks. I'm just going to throw something simple out there. And let's say they begin to pick up their socks, but then sometimes they don't. And then when you say again, hey, you promised me that you were going to keep picking up your socks, they say, are you my mom now? Are you the police? Why are you judging me? Well, but you told me you were going to stop. Do you believe everything you hear? In fact, and this is something I've even heard before, these are some real life examples. I'm actually just going to stop promising you things because you hold everything. And you don't understand that plans change. It's now your fault. How dare you believe me for promising something I never planned to deliver? And because of that, I'm just going to stop promising you things. It's insane when you think about it, right? And if you've experienced this, feel free to chime in the comments. I'll take a look at the comments in a second, but feel free to chime in if this is resonating with you at all. But you begin to be the blame for their failed attempts. You become the blame for why they can't get off their feet. They might promise that I'm going to get this house. I'm going to actually stay at this job. I'm going to help you with the children more. Yeah, they're my children too. Right? Yes, they are mine, but I'm actually going to start helping and parenting. And then when you hold them accountable, it's your fault because you're nagging. Maybe if you would have supported me more, I would have done this. And they'll flip it on you. And then somehow it turns into, well, see, I wanted to take you out on something nice, but now you started this argument, right? So I'm going to backtrack for a second. So I've heard examples and I've experienced examples where, let's say in a romantic relationship, a person says, this Friday, we're going to go on a date. You've been asking me to take you out. I'm finally going to take you out. Thursday, they do something to cause an argument. And because you've just had enough, you're sick of it, you already feel like you're going crazy, you don't know what's happening, you don't know what you're really dealing with in the moment, you lose it. And now you get into an argument. And then what happens next? See, I was planning to take you out tomorrow, but this is what I'm talking about. Forget it. I'm not going anywhere. and the plans never happen. But during the makeup, I'm going to promise you that if you just let me be a man, right? And I know I believe there are men listening as well, but I'm just using this as an example. Allow me, don't nag me all the time. I'm going to want to do it. You don't have to ask me to take you out. I want to take you out, but I don't because you make me feel like less of a man. Whatever, throw in any excuse. You could throw one in for a woman. You could throw one in for whoever. You will always be the perpetrator in the narcissist relationship. You're always going to be the one to blame. How dare you expect me to actually hold myself accountable? And you're not perfect yourself. How many of you guys have heard that? You act like you're so perfect. No, I'm just asking you, are you going to do what you promised me you were going to do? That doesn't make me perfect. It makes me a person who's asking a question, right? So acknowledging if you've experienced this, you're not alone. This is a tactic that's used, and it's a little bit worse than gaslighting. And it's, there are some similarities to gaslighting, but in this sense, I'm just going to keep promising you something. And they might even say in that moment, I actually meant it. I just don't mean it now. Oh, when I promised you that, I meant it then. How can you can't measure that. You can't figure out if that's an accurate assessment. It doesn't make sense, and it makes you feel like you're losing your mind. People experience this in a non-romantic relationship as well. Maybe growing up in the household, they can get you to loan them money. I promise you I'll pay them back. I mean, that's another example. Putting you in charge of different things unfairly. Maybe it was a parental relationship and you were forced to really be the parent. There's so many different situations where future faking can be used to manipulate. And there are so many reasons why people stay, because a part of us believes, because we've been so manipulated, that maybe next time will be the time they change. And I don't want to miss out on that change. So I'm going to stay. Right? So, like I said, I want to encourage you, if you have any questions as I'm going through this, feel free to put them in the chat. I will definitely address them. Give me a thumbs up or something if this is resonating with you. So a lot of times people will ask, well, do they mean to do what they're doing? Is it intentional? The answer is yes. The answer is yes, because oftentimes they're not future faking you with something that you don't want. And it's not even as simple as, I want a new jacket. I want to try a new restaurant. No, it's something that you're actually really aspiring after. So I've seen situations where a couple has promised, hey, you let me go to school, you continue working, taking care of the kids. When I graduate, I'm going to take care of everything and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And you wait, right? You wait it out. And they graduate, they go on to get an amazing job. And now, it would be a little bit helpful if you actually pulled your weight around the house and had a job too. I shouldn't have to be the only one who's working. Wait, but you promised me that when you got out of school that you would take care of everything and I could just focus on what I want to do now. Right? The stakes are higher. The stakes are a lot higher. So let me take a moment and look at the chats here. And I don't want to, I feel like I'm saying some, okay, I'm a narcissist magnet. How do I get out of this cycle? Oh, well, yes. That's the whole another conversation. The best way to get out of a cycle of being what you call a narcissist magnet, because we're all narcissistic magnets, basically it means that we care about people and people take advantage of that. But the real question is how you stop allowing them into your space. How do I stop allowing them into my space? You're going to attract them. You can't help who you attract, but you can help who you allow in your space. And a lot of that comes with being, and like I said, I don't know you, but not being codependent, having high self-esteem. There are certain people they just don't go after because they know they're not going to listen to the BS. They're not going to entertain the BS. I can't get over on them. Okay. So that's definitely doing some self-work will help you to keep them from coming to your space. Yeah, it's like, did I live in your house? Oh, this was my house. So this is a mixture of personal experience and different clients I've seen in the past. Okay, he told me I have control issues and have too high of expectations. My counselor told me for a year that was not true, but I actually started to see his manipulation. Oh yeah, you hit the nail on the head. When you try to hold them accountable, you are then labeled controlling. I'll even dare say you might even be labeled a narcissist. Maybe you're the narcissist. Maybe you're the abusive person in the relationship. Everything has to be your way. Or I even heard someone say, maybe you should find someone else because I'll never be the person you want me to be. What is that, a functioning partner? A healthy partner? It's not like you're asking for too much, but yeah, that's all manipulation. Yeah, they definitely will do it to children. Oh yeah, children are used. I did a whole thing about this, about how children are used as pawns. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it looks like I got onto it. But yeah, so the best way to acknowledge when someone is future faking you, right? When someone is manipulating you, is what are they promising? And have they ever actually delivered in the past, right? The first time you're not quite going to catch it because people promise things and I'm sorry, I can't do this and that. Paying attention to someone's behavior, because words really, they should mean something. They should hold weight. I've been always raised to say, you're only as good as your word. That's how I was raised. So yeah, I believed everything because I believe that if a person said they were going to do it, they were going to do it because that's how I operated. But there were so many times, even before getting into, an actual relationship, that I saw that there were too many broken promises. And you'll see that because it might be as simple as, you know, going out, taking you out, right? Or promising, yeah, I'm gonna post you on my social media. I mean, this is a small example. But there's something in you that can tell when you feel like you've been let down. That's the best way I can put it. There's something in you that can tell that, oh, you actually got busy versus interesting, you are always busy whenever I need you. You can tell that, and oftentimes we'll talk ourselves out of it and say, let's give them grace and things happen. And I don't want to come off as being controlling. I don't want to come off as being nitpicky, but that something is off. Okay, let me take a second here and look at yeah. Yeah, I don't mean to laugh. The comment here says, he promised marriage and kept blaming me for why he didn't propose. That's not uncommon. That's not uncommon. Or even, I'll even go as far as to say being promised a certain ring, never getting that ring, and then saying, I'm gonna get it in 5 years. I'm just going to keep saving up. But in the meantime, you're seeing them make major purchases while you're waiting for, what they're promising you, right? And then they'll start to say things like, you don't deserve it. Why should I do this for you? It seems like you're going to leave me. Every time you get upset with me, I think you're going to leave me. And it becomes your fault. Stay away from people like that. Let's see here. There's a couple more things here. Yep, broken promises. I didn't get you flowers for whatever holiday, but I will send some and you never see them. Yeah, it's it's the same. And this is the thing. People ask me, like, how do you know my husband? How do you know my ex-wife? How do you know my mom? It's because it's an illness and they all operate the same way. If you go to the doctor with a broken leg, they're going to fix the broken leg a specific way. They're not going to start messing with your elbow. They're not going to start wiggling your, messing with your toes. They're going to address the leg. They operate the same way. It's the same playbook. So we don't look at so in this group, we don't even really talk about them a lot. I'll do things like this where I educate you on it, but we talk about the symptoms of it and how you can get past the symptoms, because everything I just described today, how can an average person be exposed to this type of manipulation on a daily basis for years and not feel like they're losing their mind? Not run to unhealthy coping mechanisms, not lose hope in people. It's very difficult. But there's some power in acknowledging, I am actually not crazy. I'm actually not the abuser. I'm actually not the reason for this failed relationship or whatever. I was being manipulated. Yeah. And then what will happen is when you start to, and this is the most interesting thing about this tactic. When you start to experience enough failed promises, guess what you start to do? You stop looking for them to actually stay true to their word, which is what they want. And if I don't expect you to be true to your word, then you can do whatever you want. There are no standards. There are no boundaries. It got to the point where when my ex would go to the store, I would say, I'll see you in a couple hours. Because one store run would take, what should have taken 15, 20 minutes would take 4 or 5 hours. I stopped expecting him to be home within a reasonable time for a store run because I knew it wasn't going to happen. And guess what happened? He just said, well, now you know. And I still stayed, right? So you start to be like, okay, well, let me just lower my expectations. Nothing's going to change. But I don't want to leave yet because he might change or she might change one day. So I can't leave just yet, right? Okay, and I'm gonna read a few more comments here. You thought you were losing it. Okay, they're completely focused on themselves and what they need at that moment. They will meet some of your needs some of the time in order to buy you into the relationship. So they're meeting your needs in order to get their needs met. It's like, yes, it is emotional blackmail. Yes, I am meeting your needs in order to get my needs met. And once they're met, you're on your own. Okay, mine was going to be amazing jewelry. When I was divorcing him, amazingly, it was jewelry we couldn't afford, and I was never going to get. So I said, well, that's too bad for me, I guess, because I'm not staying. I said you could buy it for me for the last 26 years of being your wife and taking care of our home and family. Yeah. You start to realize very quickly how many lies are being told during the future faking. It feels like your life was fake, but you didn't know it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And religion, and that's a whole nother topic. I'm not going to get into today. Is a lot of the reasons why a lot of people do say, you can be manipulated into believing that you have to be a martyr. That if you don't put up with it, that it's somehow not a good wife, not a good husband. That's all a part of manipulation as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of things, and I think the hardest thing for people to grasp, because I go through various different things. Manipulation. Next week, I'm going to go into the smear campaign, which is always very interesting. When you decide to leave, you become the villain. But the interesting thing about these relationships is when you come out and you recognize what you've been dealing with, and you have that aha moment of, did this person ever love me? How could someone love you if they mistreat you? And I don't want to hear, I love you, but I don't know how to show love because I'm so broken. We got to let that rhetoric go. That's BS, right? When you start to get to that realization of, I was in this relationship alone. I tell everyone, let me tell you how powerful you are. You're so powerful that you kept a relationship going when another person was actively trying to end it. That's not an easy thing to do. You know how difficult it is to be Healthy relationships can be difficult. But you were in a relationship with someone who was actively fighting you every single day, and you kept it going. So the sky is the limit to what you can do now if you're free. I don't know everyone's situation here, but the sky is the limit. Okay, and I'm gonna read this last few, and then we're gonna wrap this up. Yeah, love is supposed to be unconditional. Love is unconstitutional, but relationships are not. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think in that moment, you know, it's very easy to get into a kind of woe is me. How did I let this happen? What if this happens again? How did I get here? Right? How did I not see it? When in reality, you should take a step back and say, this person pulled out every trick in the book to just be in my presence because they knew that being themselves wouldn't be enough. And that right there is something to hold on to. It takes a lot, you know, it's not, when we go over these forms of abuse, they're not just manipulating, they're not just gaslighting, they're not just having flying monkeys, they're not just future faking. They are doing all of these in tandem, all of these at the same time. You're literally in a war zone, which is why many people come out with complex PTSD, like myself. Complex PTSD is when you have prolonged exposure to trauma. Different than PTSD, because that's typically a situational thing. That's why people come out with anxiety, like myself. Anxiety is worrying about the future. People also come out with depression, like myself. Depression is worrying about the past. They all go into each other, but the good thing is I no longer have these diagnoses. I'm almost 2 years completely separated and you know, past it, you know, in the healing process and past that. And this is why I was like, after I figured out what this was, I was like, I need to tell as many people as I can. Knowledge is key. Knowledge is what will keep you from getting back into these relationships. And there is life outside of it. There is life on the other side. So continue coming to these groups. If you're new, welcome to the group. We have so many excited, I mean, this is going to be a wealth of knowledge to you. We're now almost 230 people strong. You know, we've been growing like exponentially since we really kicked things off in November. So you have the option to come to support groups. You have the option to participate, and I also do coaching. You can do that as well. I have someone in here who's about to do the 30-day kind of boot camp course, which is all about loving yourself, and because it's a process. It is a process, but once you know, you can't unknow. And that's the beauty of this, you know, you're not there anymore. And I don't know if anyone's still physically there. But if you're not physically in that space with that person, then be prepared to get stronger and stronger and stronger each day. Doesn't mean you won't relapse. It doesn't mean you won't get into a state of depression or a funk or really feel, you know, kind of worked up. But the further away you move, the stronger you become. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I hope you got a lot of information out of this. I'm looking through the comments here. I think I pretty much got everyone here. So yeah, please, like I said, continue to come to more things. I'm actually going to post this up on YouTube. So I'm going to start recording in a second so that if you ever want to look back on this and just kind of remember what we talked about today, you can go back and listen to it. All right, so give me a second. I'm going to start recording.